to relate to you. Okay, so let's talk about military spouses and what are the biggest challenges that you see these moms facing?
So, because I tend to go to the emotional, right? The biggest thing I see is losing. I'm going to say ourselves because we're retirees now. And yes, we are retirees because I did the thing with him
Yeah.
for those number of years. So when he retired, I retired. But so one of the biggest things when my husband decided that he wanted to re-enlist and I became a military spouse was I lost myself because one thing that we all have in common is we're going to give up something in order
Yeah.
to follow our service member, especially if, he or she is active duty. We're going to follow them from duty station to duty station. And every few years, some things are going to change for us. And so we are going to give up something, whether we're leaving our hometown and we're giving up family or a close knit community or connections that we have, whether we've built ourselves in a business and we are climbing the ladder, or not like a personally owned business, but you've been working as an employee and you've been building yourself and, really gaining momentum on, that journey. And then suddenly you're going to the next place. And
Yeah.
so one of the biggest challenges is giving up a massive piece of ourselves, at least at the beginning, but then a lot of times throughout the journey too. And
Mhm.
so one of the things that I had to give up was my job. I had gotten out of the army and I had gotten into a contracting position almost immediately. And then that led to a promotion. And then that led to another job, which was another promotion. And I was really climbing the ladder and doing the thing. And I was in a place that I was young and successful and very proud of everything I had done. And then when my husband was like, I want to re-enlist, I was like, you realize that I've been building in my career and working to get to where I am, and I'm, like, in a place I'm really proud of. That's gonna be a big ask to have me letting go of that.
Yeah.
And, I've shared this before in other platforms. We agreed. He didn't force me to do anything, we agreed that this was going to be the next thing. It wasn't like if you follow me or I leave you. No, we
He didn't dictate
no,
that
he
this is
didn't.
what was
Everything
gonna
that
happen,
No, all the
right?
agreements that we came to over the years were always mutual decisions, and wasn't always in love with the things that I agreed to, and he wasn't always in love, but there was compromise. And in this
Of course.
particular situation, the compromise was hard because I had to give up a lot, but it made sense for our future. And so,
Mhm.
the initial reaction was, but what about me? What about what I've done? But
Mhm.
ultimately, it made sense. So we made the decision. Um, but one of those things, big pieces, is giving up career. Like, how do I support myself now?
Yeah.
Yes, you are going to support me, but I don't necessarily, as an individual, and many women I think would agree with this, I don't necessarily want somebody to support me and me not be able to do it for myself. Right.
Mhm.
And so when you give up the career you are building, or the education, some women are working education, it just depends, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, that's a piece you have to leave behind. And then every single time you move, which for certain branches is every 2, 3 years, some more frequently, some less, but pretty, typically it's like 2 to 3 years. So every 2, 3 years, you have to go get another job. So
Yeah.
essentially, you're not typically able to build a career. You can have a job, but most of us can't build a career when we're moving every few years. That it just doesn't work out
Do
that way
you
for us.
do you find that, some military spouses want to come up with an alternative way, just something else for them to do because they feel like they're losing their identity in just, um, following what their spouse wants them to do?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that military spouses talk about is losing our identity or not, having the things that what we once had that we love that we're building on. And so there's actually a really high percentage, and this lights me up. There's a really high percentage of military spouses who are starting their own businesses. I think
Mhm.
like 48% last time I looked. But anyways, a general
Wow.
idea. It's a great
Yeah.
percentage because every time we move, we do have to, you know,
Start
quit
all over.
and then start over, and we have to look
Yeah.
for a job and look for somebody to hire us. When you start your own business, yes, there are difficulties, but there are different type of difficulties, and you get to build that in a way where you can take that everywhere you go. Um,
Yeah.
and then it speaks to so many things, right? It speaks to your financial independence, which if that's where you came from, that's a big deal. And then it
Mhm.
speaks to, fulfilling yourself on whatever level it is, whether it's your creativity or it's a passion that, you're pursuing or whatever. You get to fill all of those voids that you maybe thought you were going to have to leave behind and didn't know what you were going to do about. So having a
Yeah.
small business that you get to create and call your own and make it what you want is so important. I mean, if it's a thing you wanna pursue, of course, right? Not everybody needs to or
Right,
has to.
right.
But if it's a thing that calls to you, as a military spouse to do, it fulfills so many needs that
Yeah.
you'd otherwise lose in the process.
I feel like, if I was in that situation, that I would feel like maybe I was losing a little bit of my own identity, and so then I would want to do some type of side thing, but maybe I'm like, "I don't even know what to do." Right?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
the beauty though, isn't it, of the internet these days? You don't
Mhm.
have to know what to do, right? If you're doing it because if you're starting a business because you're not gonna eat if you don't. That's a whole different story. But if you're starting a business to pursue a passion or to find something that's more fulfilling than, being at home and not having another thing to go along with that. A lot of military spouses do tend to choose to be stay-at-home moms, which was actually the path I pursued before I started my own business. And that's fine, but you do end up losing so much of your identity between giving up what you had when you joined your service member, becoming a stay-at-home mom. That's very fulfilling in a lot of ways, but there's still a huge gap that's not being attended to. And so that you do lose a lot of your identity. Like, who am I? What do I love doing? Because you're no longer doing a lot of those things. It gets lost in the shuffle. So then when you get to finally, explore that and you have the time that you can take to explore that, you absolutely should. If you're not pressed because, you're not going to eat if you don't, then you should
Right.
absolutely take the time to explore that. You can go to Google, you can hire a coach. Um, no pressure there. You can, to think about the things that you once loved doing. And do you still love doing those things? I once loved baking. And I thought I was
Yeah.
going to open a business, a bakery. So I explored what would that look like if I were going to do that, for a business now, just to play with the idea. Not now, now I'm a coach, but along the way, what would that look like? Might not look like I
Well,
thought
it's
it was going to look at the beginning when I was going to open a brick and mortar before my husband reenlisted. But could I teach cooking classes online? Can I? Different locations will allow you to bake from your home kitchen. Some states don't. So is that a thing that you can do? How can you morph that and play with it? Is it even a thing you still want to do? If
right.
not, what else?
That's what I was gonna say is because, like I had mentioned earlier, is that, your business will pivot, right? Like it did for you. You started out with one thing and then you decided, I don't really love that thing as much as I thought I would. I'm gonna move to this thing. And then, you found what you really are great at, and that you felt like you could help other people. And so I think that, you can start out anywhere, right? And that's the,
Yeah.
like you said, it's the benefit of the internet is that you can do anything. You can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said, for just situational awareness here. I wanted to open a brick and mortar bakery at the very beginning, like before I even knew that I was going to be entrepreneur. I was like, I want to own a bakery. I didn't think, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I thought, oh, I want to be a baker. How am I going to be a baker? I don't want to work for somebody else. I'm going to open my own bakery. And then my husband re-enlisted and that tanked. You can't open a brick and mortar and, move around the country with it. And my
Right.
mind didn't go to what else can I do with this? My mind went to like, what's the thing that makes the most sense now in this situation? And that was where I made the mistake of not going, how can I shift and I guess I shouldn't say mistake because I'm exactly where I want to be today. I love where I am and things happen for a reason. But
Mhm.
just because the initial idea, you know, doesn't work out because you have to move, if it's still on your heart, what else can you do with it to make it work for you? How can you just shift a little bit so that you can hang on to the thing that you love and continue to pursue it?
Yeah.
I so cheesy, but I strongly believe where there's a will, there's a way. If you want it, there is a way for you to get it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And, and it's just persevering, right? You just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.